All right, so let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at something I know a lot of you are curious about. Can you really combine cardio and strength training without like totally messing up your gains? And we've got some brand new research from just last year in 2024, a study called Concurrent Training, Aerobic and Strength Adaptations in Males and Females. We're going to break it all down for you.
It's interesting because, this is a question that has been debated for years and years. People always worry about this thing called the interference effect. Like if you run too much, suddenly your muscles will just disappear.
Right, like you're fighting yourself in the gym.
Yeah.
So how did this study approach this like age-old question?
Well, they took 96 people, both men and women, which is a pretty decent sample size for this kind of research. They split them into three groups and put them on a 12-week program. One group was doing lower body HIIT and lower body strength training. Another group was doing lower body HIIT with upper body strength training. And the third group, they were all strength training, upper and lower body, no cardio.
Okay, so they're really trying to isolate whether working the same muscles with both cardio and strength really makes a difference. Interesting. But hold on a second. What is lower body HIIT?
I know I love my spin classes, but I'm not sure how that translates into strength training.
Yeah, so in this study, they actually had everyone doing cycling for the HIIT workouts, and they didn't just like track everyone's progress with these simple strength tests. They used this method called load velocity profiling. Think of it like you're getting a detailed report card for your muscles, not just a simple pass or fail.
I like the sound of a detailed report card. So, what do these report cards say? Did the cardio groups fall behind?
Actually, no. Both groups that were doing the cardio and strength combo, they saw really similar strength gains compared to the group who only lifted weights. And get this, we are talking like a 19-22% increase in their squat 1 rep max.
Hold on. Are you saying I could be squatting like almost 20% heavier after 12 weeks? Even if I'm still hitting those spin classes? That's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And the bench press numbers were really impressive as well. They went up about 13-17% across all three groups.
Okay, so myth busted. Cardio doesn't automatically destroy your strength gains. But what about explosive strength? That's got to be important, right? Not just how much you can lift, but like how fast you can move it.
Absolutely. Explosive strength is key. And the study did measure that. They looked at something called mean propulsive velocity, or MPV, at different weights. And again, both of the cardio groups kept pace with the strength-only group, showing that you can still develop that explosive power even while doing HIIT.
I bet that's music to the ears of anyone who, wants to be able to jump over a puddle or sprint to catch the bus. It's not all about, looking good at the gym.
Exactly. It's about functional fitness, being able to use your body in real-life situations.
So it seems like cardio is not holding anyone back in terms of strength or explosive power. But what about muscle growth? Did everyone get equally jacked?
This is where it gets even more interesting. So they focused on two specific muscles, the vastus lateralis in the thigh and the pectoralis major, which is your chest muscle. And the results were actually different depending on the muscle group.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
For the thigh muscle, only the group doing both the lower body, HIIT, and strength training saw gains in size. The strength-only group, kind of surprisingly, didn't see that much growth there.
Wait, are you serious? That kind of goes against everything I thought I knew. Shouldn't lifting weights, especially squats, make your legs bigger?
You'd think so, right? The researchers think that maybe for people who are already pretty active, their leg muscles might be stimulated enough in daily life. They need that extra push from HIIT to trigger more growth.
So, like, my legs are already used to all the walking and stair climbing I do.
Yeah.
They need something more intense to, like, really change.
Fascinating.
Exactly. But for the chest muscle, both groups who were doing upper body strength training, whether or not they were doing that lower body HIIT, they saw great size gains. So maybe the type of cardio matters. Like cycling isn't going to impact your chest muscles in the same way that it might impact your legs. Or am I way off base here?
It's a really good question, and one that the study doesn't exactly answer. It definitely seems like the type of cardio and which muscle you're working can play a role. But it also raises another interesting point about this research. The study was incredibly thorough. They didn't just look at overall results. They actually factored in the menstrual cycles of all the women in the study.
Oh, I was kind of wondering about that. I remember reading somewhere that hormones can really mess with your performance in the gym. Did they find any big differences between how men and women responded to the training?
That's what's so cool about this research. There was absolutely no difference between the sexes. Men and women adapted to the training in very similar ways. It didn't matter which group they were in.
Wow, that's pretty huge. It seems like we can finally ditch this idea that men and women need totally different workout routines.
Yeah, it really challenges that old school thinking. This research is pointing to like a much more individualized approach to fitness, taking into account your goals, your preferences, all that good stuff. And the exciting thing is that for most people, this study suggests you can combine cardio and strength training without one sabotaging the other.
That's awesome. So many people are going to be so happy to hear that. But did the study say anything about different types of strength training? Like, would someone training for a powerlifting competition need a different cardio strategy than someone who's just trying to, build some muscle?
That is a great question. This particular study, though, focused on overall strength and muscle growth. They didn't really get into those specifics of different training styles like powerlifting or bodybuilding.
So maybe that's something for future research to look at. What would you want to see investigated next, based on what we've learned from this study?
For me, the big question mark is the impact of different types of cardio on strength and muscle growth. Like, does running have a different effect than cycling?
Hmm.
Or swimming? We need more research to really know for sure.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And what about the intensity and duration of the cardio? I mean, the
Mm.
study used HIIT, which is super intense. What if you're someone who just likes to, go for a nice long jog a couple times a week?
Exactly. Would we see those same results with like moderate intensity, steady state cardio? There's just so many variables to think about.
I guess that's what makes it so interesting. It seems like every answer just leads to more questions.
That's science for you. Always more to uncover, always more to learn.
Well, I am definitely feeling inspired to get back to the gym, maybe even mix up my routine a little bit. But before we wrap up, something you said earlier really caught my attention. You mentioned this idea of neural maladaptation. What exactly is that?
Ah, yes. The study actually looked into some of the possible mechanisms behind this interference effect, and neural maladaptation is one of them. Basically, it's this idea that doing both cardio and strength training might change how your nervous system communicates with your muscles.
So, like, the signals get all mixed up. Like, your brain is trying to tell your muscles to grow, but the message gets lost on the way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. There's some research that suggests the electrical activity in your muscles might actually be lower during concurrent training compared to strength training alone.
Huh, interesting. So it's like your muscles aren't getting that same go signal to build strength and size when you're also doing cardio. But is that like definitely what's happening?
It's tough to say for sure.
Right.
There are so many factors involved. Muscle fiber types, tendon properties, hormonal responses. It's this huge puzzle we're still trying to figure out.
Okay, I get it. It's complicated. But for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all this sciencey stuff, what's like the one key takeaway? What should they do with this information?
I think the most important thing is to not be afraid to incorporate both cardio and strength training into your routine. This study provides really strong evidence that they can work together and even like enhance each other.
That is so reassuring. So, can we finally ditch those old ideas about how much cardio is too much?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to remember that everyone is different. What works for one person might not work for someone else.
True, true. Listen to your body, pay attention to how you're feeling, and adjust your training as needed.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to experiment a little, figure out what feels right for you.
I love that approach. It takes the pressure off trying to follow some like rigid set of rules.
Yeah, that's what fitness should be about, right? Finding what you enjoy, what feels good, and what helps you reach your goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive?
Well, the study did stress one final point that I think is really important, and that's the importance of recovery. Ah, recovery. The unsung hero of any good fitness plan. It's so true. You can't just go, go, go all the time without consequences, right?
No. When you're asking your body to do both cardio and strength training, you're really pushing it. So making sure you're getting enough rest, sleep, and all that good nutrition, it's super important for those muscles to repair and rebuild.
Makes sense. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your fitness is like take a step back and let your body chill out for a bit.
Exactly.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the interference effect to the study's design, the results for strength, explosive strength, muscle growth, even the importance of individual differences in recovery. Phew. It's a lot to process, but I hope you're walking away feeling a little bit more confident about mixing your cardio and strength training.
I hope so too. I really hope that you're feeling empowered to make smart decisions about your fitness routine and maybe even a little bit excited to experiment. Find what works best for you.
So what is a one big takeaway you want our listener to remember from this whole discussion? Honestly, don't be afraid of cardio. This research really challenges the idea that you have to choose between cardio and strength training. You can totally do both and get the benefits of a well-rounded fitness plan.
I'm all about that well-rounded life. I gotta admit, though, I'm still a little stuck on the fact that different types of cardio might have different effects.
Mhm.
Like, what if I'm a runner, not a cyclist? Does this study still apply to me?
Right. That's the big question, isn't it? And this study doesn't really give us the answer, unfortunately. They only looked at cycling. So, does running or swimming or dancing have a different impact on strength and muscle growth? Well, we still need more research to figure that out.
Ah, always more research. What a surprise.
Always. But that's what keeps things interesting, right? Like we're peeling back the layers of this really complex puzzle. And with every new study, we get a little bit closer to the complete picture.
Well, I can't wait to see what they discover next. But for now, I think we've given our listener plenty to think about and like a good starting point for making decisions about their training.
Definitely. And don't forget, the best workout routine is one that you enjoy and can stick with. So listen to your body, have fun, and keep making progress.
Love it. That's a wrap on this deep dive into the world of cardio and strength training. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious.
It's been awesome chatting with you.